Welcome back to Write, Submit, Succeed, a nurse's podcast. In today's episode, we're tackling something that almost every nurse writer experiences at some point, barriers to getting started. We hear them all the time. I'm not an expert, I don't have time, or I'm just not a good writer.
And the interesting thing is that these concerns aren't limited to first-time authors. Even experienced authors struggle with these same thoughts. The good news is that these barriers are common and they're manageable.
Let's start with one of the biggest obstacles, imposter syndrome, that sense that you're not qualified to write for publication.
And many nurses assume publishing is only for educators or experts, and they're often thinking, well, who am I to write an article? But practical experience definitely matters. If you've solved a problem, improved patient care, learned something through your work, then you have valuable insights to share.
Right, you don't need to be a world-renowned specialist. Even being a step ahead of someone else can make your perspective helpful. Our readers value real-world lessons and actionable advice more than theoretical expertise.
Exactly. So think of writing as contributing to like an ongoing conversation maybe. Sharing your projects, your quality improvement initiatives, or lessons learned can help others and spark new ideas.
Every published author started somewhere. No one is a born expert. Practice, experience, not just credentials, makes your story worth telling. Many successful articles come from nurses who simply wanted to share what worked in their organizations.
And evidence-based quality improvement projects are a great source for publishable material. If you've led a team, identified a better way of doing things, made an impact, then your experience can benefit others for sure. Now let's move on to a barrier that probably resonates with every nurse listening, and that's lack of time. Nursing is demanding between, patient care, leadership responsibilities, family obligations, and everything else life throws at us. Finding time to write can feel pretty impossible sometimes.
Yes, and many people imagine that authors sit down for entire weekends and write a manuscript from start to finish, when in reality most articles are written in small pieces over a time period.
Yeah, I would recommend setting realistic goals, like one paragraph here, a section there, a few notes captured during lunch break. Writing often happens in short, manageable increments. Consistency matters more than finding large blocks of uninterrupted time. Even 15-20 minutes, a couple times a week can move a manuscript forward.
And some practical strategies include scheduling writing time on your calendar. Sometimes if you put it on the calendar versus just saying you're going to do it, that helps. Setting small goals, such as, a paragraph or a section at a time. Keeping a running list of ideas or even dictating thoughts into your phone when inspiration strikes can help. Small steps really do create manuscripts.
Yeah, one way to do that is if you consider building on work you've already done. So if you've done a conference presentation, posters, quality improvement projects, staff education programs, evidence-based practice initiatives, all of these can provide a strong, a starting point for developing a manuscript. By expanding, updating, adapting these projects, you can share your insights with a wider audience.
And a hopeful mindset shift is recognizing that you don't need a free weekend to write, because, trying to find that large chunk of time can be intimidating. You simply need a place to start. I like to start with just some notes on the topic and related concepts or cases. Writing on scratch paper, you don't have to pay attention to the grammar or punctuation, just get notes on paper. And that can lead to more detailed outline and a plan for the manuscript.
Yeah, and if you're collaborating with co-authors, you can divide responsibilities and make the process even more manageable. You can be clear about outlining responsibilities if you're working with co-authors, even having upfront conversations of content assignments. That should really help you find time.
I also like to write in small segments. And I take breaks and I disconnect, take a walk. It helps me think about the topic and relevant patient scenarios or cases that I can connect with that content. This makes the content relatable to nurse readers. But stepping away from the computer can help you think and reflect on those connections to clinical scenarios from your practice. I really need to just get up after 20 or 30 minutes and walk and then come back.
Yeah. So now the third barrier is lack of confidence. Many nurses worry about their writing, that it just isn't good enough. I mean, as nurses, we have practice expertise, but many of us don't have writing expertise. But writing is something you can develop through practice too. It's not something you're born knowing how to do maybe, but writing an article is a skill that many nurses may not have been taught but can be taught.
Yes, and I think many nurses have the misconception that published articles emerge from, authors writing and they're in their final form, but that's simply not true. Every author produces drafts. Then they work through those drafts and improve those. Every manuscript goes through several revisions. And most published articles look very different from the very first version. Editors and peer reviewers all expect revisions.
Oh, definitely. First drafts are rarely published, more like never published, probably. In fact,
True.
Revision is just a normal part of publishing. When editors or peer reviewers suggest changes, that doesn't mean that the writer's failed or done something wrong. It means they're helping them strengthen the manuscript. Revision requests indicate that editors see potential in your work. And actually, maybe I should say that again, Sherry, because our listeners need to know for sure that revision requests indicate that there's potential in that article. Otherwise, we wouldn't be reaching out.
Yes, that's a really important point. Experienced authors receive revision requests all the time, and that's part of the publishing process. Even a really strong manuscript that comes in, we might get some feedback from peer reviewers that we want to share with the author to help them improve their manuscript.
Yeah, so one way to build that confidence is just to start small. Consider writing a shorter article or partnering with an experienced co-author or seeking mentorship from someone who's published before.
Yes, and reading articles in your target journal can also be incredibly helpful. We've
Definitely.
mentioned this before, and we'll probably mention it again. But reviewing the journal that you think you're interested in writing for can be really helpful. You'll recognize the writing styles and structures. I would also consider joining a writing group or starting a writing group where you work, because other nurses are probably interested as well in this opportunity. I've actually seen groups in acute care who have worked on evidence-based projects and looking in the literature for ways to improve outcomes. And they found gaps in the literature and actually formed a writing group to start tackling that project.
That's great advice. I like that one. Start a writing group. Another important reminder is just not to compare your first draft to somebody else's published article, because published articles are revised articles, and what you're reading is the final version after editing, after feedback, and after refinement.
Yes, all of our articles have gone through revisions. I just want to share a reminder to our listeners. We appreciate, we've received a few questions since we started this podcast, and you can submit your questions at the Write, Submit, Succeed page at myamericannurse.com. And we have a question from our audience member. Mara Farrell Miller is a palliative care nurse from Jupiter, Florida. And she asks, nurses and other health providers often confuse palliative care with hospice care. As a result, clients with advanced illnesses may not be referred to palliative care consultants. What can nurses do to ensure people have access to palliative care services? So, thank you for your question, Mara. It's true that many times healthcare providers confuse the two or believe that they're very much the same, palliative care and hospice. So this can lead to missed opportunities for patients. So as you consider a topic like this, I looked back at American Nurse Journal. In 2004, we had an article on hospice and palliative care called Hospice Care versus, I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's palliative care versus hospice. How do you determine what your patient needs? So we covered both of those topics in an article, but we haven't covered both since then. So, as you're thinking about topics to write about, this is a good example of looking in the literature, seeing where there might be a gap, and considering, writing about that topic. In this case, a nurse could delve into the literature on practical strategies to increase palliative care's distinct role in institutions. A manuscript could focus on actionable items and steps nurses can take in advocating for referrals and in educating patients. So thanks for your question, Mara. Perhaps you'll send us a manuscript in the near future.
Yeah, because before you know it, you'll have a topic and a focus.
And as we wrap up, we'd like to leave you with this thought. Nursing needs more voices, not fewer. Every nurse has experiences, insights, they've worked on innovations, they've learned lessons that can help someone else. Your perspective does matter, and readers want to hear from you.
Yeah. The biggest barriers to publication are often just lack of expertise. It's not the lack of expertise. I'm sorry. It's just, it's not even the lack of talent. It's just the time sometimes and your reservations about your ability. So, if we can just, the truth is that this confidence often follows action. So maybe take the step first and just get started.
Yes, and if you've been thinking about writing, consider this your encouragement to begin. Start with an idea, an experience, a project, something successful from your work environment, a lesson learned, and just simply begin. Start to write. I like to tell people just start to write in the middle. Don't worry about, obviously, you don't want to worry about the beginning and end when you're just getting started with a draft.
Yeah, because the nursing profession grows stronger every time a nurse decides to share what they've learned. So if you need help, reach out. That's what we are here for. And thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Write, Submit, Succeed, a Nurse's Podcast.